yesterday. So we've seen a bit of a reversal coming in there. But with that, let me quickly bring on board Mr. Shikhar Aggarwal, who's the chairman, BLS E-Services and joint managing director at BLS International as well, to talk to us about Q4 numbers for both of those companies, as well as what one can expect from FY25. Good morning, Mr. Aggarwal.
Morning. Nice to meet you.
Hi. So, talk us through, especially, let me start off with E-Services because the more recently listed one. Talk us through the numbers there, set us the context because we've seen margins go above the 20% mark, whether that's sustainable, whether that's realistic going forward.
See, the margins on a consolidated level of BLS International as a group has grown, upwards of 20% level. If you see the revenues that we've done in BLS International, 1,676 crores and an EBITDA of 345 crores, which is a growth of 56% compared to last year. And the margins have grown upward of 20%. So definitely, I think the margins are sustainable. In fact, I feel that margins that we've achieved, we will not only sustain, we will outpass and outgrow them. And results will start showing from the first quarter itself. There are a couple of reasons for that. Globally, we have taken again our global contracts from Spain. We have won a lot of new contracts from Italy, Poland, Czech Republic, Portugal. We have also done some realignment where we have taken over some countries where we were operating with some FMC partners. So definitely, we've added 7 new countries this year where we have taken over FMC partners. So profits have increased from those countries. So that is the reason that margins have increased. Talking about BLS E-Services, where we have done a revenue of 309 crores, which is a growth of 25%, and an EBITDA of 50 crores, which is a growth of 37%. The margins are lower than BLS International. We are doing margins of 16% at EBITDA level, which I feel have increased from compared to last year's, and going forward, it will increase further.
Okay, so let me first talk of BLS International. Let's try and cover that base first. Trying to understand where revenue trajectory will go, because you're expected to see around 9% odd in terms of global growth on e-visa services and the like. What's your growth likely to be at, especially for next year, given that this year you've done just about a double digit?
No, I think this year, if you see at EBITDA level, we have grown 56% compared to last year. So sure. Our profit has grown to 345 crores. We did 200 odd crores last year, and before that we did 100 crores. So we grew from 100 to 200, and now we've grown to 345 at EBITDA level. And definitely, whatever we have achieved, our first aim is to, grow it at a sustainable manner. So this is the new base of the company. Whatever we have achieved, we first want to maintain that. You can see last year was monumental for us. We won a lot of new contracts. We acquired a company also, iData. Revenue and profitability will start coming in from that also. Formalities are pending. Countries of Russia and China, which were pre-COVID the biggest volume generator for us. China, I would say, has opened 78%. Russia is still at 20%. So as volumes grow from those regions, definitely there will be a further increase in revenue and profitability. Our revenue mix has changing. We have got an increase in service charge and value-added services. Customers are asking for more different kind of services like mobile, biometric, etc. So definitely, going forward also, we see not only the EBITDA margins increasing, which have already been upwards of 20%. We see further growth coming in from this quarter itself. Compared to last year. So there will be further growth in EBITDA margins of the company. There will be growth in revenue and profitability also. The new contracts that we have won, we have deployed, revenue starting to coming in. Some contracts, results have to come this year. So as and when those come, there will be further increase. The company that we acquired, iData, there will be an increase in that. So definitely we see good growth coming in this year itself also.
No, I take your point entirely, Mr. Aggarwal. So clearly EBITDA has been the focus. And you've spoken very clearly of the levers which you're leveraging on to make sure that that EBITDA margin continues to remain 20% plus sustainably. You've spoken of that. I'm purely talking about it from a revenue standpoint. From a revenue standpoint, what should the growth clip be like going forward as you do more value-add services? I fully understand that. But what should the growth clip be like? What should one expect BLS International to do?
See, definitely, in our organic business, what we are currently doing, we expect 20% upwards of more than 20% growth coming in. We did 67% of growth compared to last year. So definitely, I would say that we will do upwards of 20%. That is a minimum benchmark that we set. On top of that, if we add more new contracts that we're going to win, the inorganic acquisitions that are about to be completed of iData and in e-services also we are planning some other acquisition. That is, we can come back to that later. So definitely we see good growth coming in, and I also see increase in new geographies. We've added 2 new countries. We've started operations in Colombia and Peru also for the Spanish government. So I see growth coming in from all these aspects this year.
Okay, I get your point. And a lot of this growth and a lot of the geographic expansion will all be funded from in-house internal accruals.
See, right now we have 1,100 odd crores of cash,
yes,
including IPO money, and that money will be utilized for acquisition that you announced. We have to utilize that money. Right now, all the growth that we are planning to use, open new offices across the world, getting into new contracts. I think we have sufficient funds, and we are a negative working capital company. We have generated around 355 crores of cash this year. So I don't think we need cash as of now. But if there is any other acquisition opportunity, there might need certain debt. We have been a debt-free company since incorporation. So we might take on debt. We are not averse to that.
Okay, I take your point. And with this large kind of cash balance, I don't recall seeing such a large cash balance in your books ever. So I'm guessing it's at an all-time high, 1,100 crore plus. What do you intend to deploy it on? I understand you're looking at acquisitions. How large is the acquisition pool that you're looking for? And what will you do with the balance funds?
See, we have more than 1,100 crores of cash on the books. That includes 300 crores of cash from BLS E-Services. That will be utilized in different aspects that we have mentioned in the IPO, that is acquisitions and technology transformation, opening of BLS stores, etc. So that takes care of that 300 crores. The rest of the money that is there, 450 to 500 crores or upwards of that we need in iData acquisition. The rest money that will be left will be used in deploying for our capex investment, opening of new offices across the world, refurbishments, etc. Technology investment. So definitely, and we've also announced dividend. So this year, I think we've done highest ever dividend of 41, 42 odd crores, 100% dividend we have paid on the face value of the shares. So definitely we are, utilizing cash for the benefit of the shareholders.
Okay, and just with regard to, I'll switch focus to BLS E-Services. Talk us through the exceptional items in this quarter's numbers.
You mean BLS E-Services?
Yes, E-Services. Yes, please.
Okay, I need to exactly check that which exceptional items you're talking about.
Okay.
So yeah, let me get that.
Because your profitability was impacted due to exceptional items, or am I mistaken?
No, I think there has been definitely an increase in profitability because there was an increase in interest income in BLS E-Services. But as a whole, if you see our revenue from operations has also grown in BLS E-Services. Our revenue from BC business, our network has grown now, and we have more than 1 lakh touch points across India. So revenue and profitability from BC business has grown, from e-governance has grown. So definitely there was an increase in revenue and profitability, but definitely there was also some other income that got added on because of the interest income.
Sure, okay. And with regard to facilitation now, you've signed agreements with HDFC, Kotak and Karur Vysya. What does this do to revenue going forward? How quickly are you going to start working with them? And when will revenue start accruing to you by?
See, in HDFC, for example, we've already done 500 crores of loan dispersals that we got facilitated last month itself. And we just started that. So obviously we get a small percentage of commission on that. But going forward, that is just one new initiative that we took this year. So on an annual basis, definitely there will be a huge revenue upside from that. We recently signed an agreement with Axis Bank and BLS E-Services. I think that this year will be phenomenal in terms of growth of BLS E-Services. Our network has expanded. We are at 100,000 touch points. We have 1,000 BLS stores. So definitely business from BC services, the existing services is increasing. Bank is adding more services. We have got into lead generation for loans. So I see good increase in revenue coming from BLS E-Services. On top of that, the acquisition, the due diligence that we are doing for acquisitions, I think as in when that is closed, there will be a further increase in revenue and profitability.
Sure. Yes, I take your point. So 30% on top line, is that what one can reasonably expect BLS E-Services to do?
I think more than projections, I would talk about the past. We have done 25% growth on revenue, 37% growth on EBITDA. Definitely, our objective, if you see the trajectory of the companies, both the companies, we have been achieving good growth, 25, 30%, more than that, 60% growth. So definitely, I wouldn't want to put any number, but yeah, I think from our plans, we will do good increase in revenue and profitability in BLS E-Services. Could be more than that as well.
Okay, I take your point. And what I meant to ask you in my first question was the 20% margin which you've clocked in Q4 for BLS E-Services. Is that a sustainable number going forward? So you expect that 20% kind of margin trajectory for FY25 full year and across quarters?
So first of all, the margin that we have, 20% that we have clocked is on a consolidated level, includes BLS International and BLS E-Services. In BLS International, margin is a little higher at 22%. And in E-Services, we have done a margin of, I think, 15 or 16%. And so I think the margins that you achieved in both the companies are sustainable. Even in E-Services, 16% of margin that you achieved is sustainable. And going forward, margins will definitely increase in both the companies.
Understood. And with regard to profitability, therefore, your margin of 16% plus in BLS E-Services, largely is that steady state, and therefore your profitability should be largely governed by your top line growth as well as a wee bit of margin expansion?
No, I think profitability for us in both the companies is actually linked to both more growth in margin and top line. So I expect margins to grow. If you see our margins on consolidated level last year was 16%. This year we have grown, I think 5 to 6% on the overall level. So definitely there has been a huge increase in profitability because of that. So going forward, I expect both the revenue and margins to increase, leading to a double growth in profitability.
Sure. You've also spoken about technological upgradation with regard to your BLS stores. How quickly is that expected to happen, and what's the kind of capex which you're putting up, and how quickly are you deploying that?
Out of the IPO money, we had earmarked certain amount of capex for the technology investment in BLS E-Services. I need to check the exact numbers, but we've already started our plans. We've started shortlisting of vendors. We've started identifying which exact areas we need to deploy our money. So I think within this year, our expectation is that we want to deploy the money.
Okay, I take your point. Very interesting here. Thank you so much for all of that perspective, Mr. Aggarwal. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
Right. Quickly, BLS, both international and E-Services, and focus on the back of numbers. We just spoke with Mr. Shikhar Aggarwal, who's the Joint Managing Director at BLS International, as well as Chairman at BLS E-Services. Very quickly pulling up both those counters, seeing what they are doing in trade, if we can. There you go, BLS International, of course, you're seeing a bit of a spike on that stock, 1.6% higher. And BLS E-Services, if we can pull that one up as well. Yeah, there you go. That one also seeing a bit of a spike, 7% up BLS E-Services. Strong set of numbers, no doubt on that. Let's quickly